On Cedar Lane, everyone laughed at Mara for keeping careful records, until one street fair made 5 people answer to their own words. Mara owned the little print shop at the corner of Cedar Lane, where the bakery smelled like cinnamon by 6, the florist watered buckets on the pavement, and the office above the cafe changed tenants every year. She printed menus, schedules, delivery cards, banners, and the neighborhood association's annual street fair map. People teased her because every approval got a date and every change got a fresh proof. Mara never argued. She kept one blue folder labeled Final, which everyone knew was funny because nothing on Cedar Lane ever felt final. In the 3 weeks before the fair, 5 small storms arrived at her counter. None involved danger, cruelty, or grand revenge. Each began with someone assuming that politeness meant nobody was keeping track. Each ended when the same paper they had dismissed returned at exactly the right moment. By fair day, the blue folder had become the quietest judge on the street. The first storm belonged to Cole, operations manager for the company renting the upstairs office. His junior coordinator, Mina, had spent 2 weeks building the fair's delivery schedule. She called every vendor, measured table spaces, marked electrical access, and created a rain plan that moved fragile displays beneath the arcade. Cole barely looked at it. Then, at a planning meeting, he projected Mina's map with her name cropped from the bottom and introduced it as his streamlined system. Mina said nothing in front of the group. She only asked Mara to print the approved version from the shared project folder. Cole smirked and told everyone Mina was excellent at tidying his ideas. Before leaving, he ordered 50 copies and wrote, "Use my final plan, no junior edits," on the approval form. Mara clipped it into the blue folder. Mina went back upstairs and kept answering vendors, because the fair still had to work even when the credit did not land where it belonged. 2 days later, the event committee asked Cole to explain 3 colored routes on the map. He called them decorative. Mina quietly opened the original file history and explained, blue kept bakery deliveries away from the children's craft tables, green gave the florist a shaded unloading window, and gold was the rain route. Every note linked to an email from a vendor addressed to her. Then the fire safety coordinator asked who had calculated the clear access lane. Cole glanced at the cropped print. Mina opened the uncropped master, where her initials sat beside every measurement. Nobody shouted. The committee chair simply moved Mina's name into the lead coordinator box and asked Cole to handle chair inventory under her schedule. His own signed instruction, use the final plan with no junior edits, meant he could not replace her working version with a vague new one. For the rest of the week, he counted folding chairs while Mina ran the plan he had tried to claim. The second storm came from Warren, who lived beside the shared loading bay. Each morning he placed 2 orange cones at the curb so his polished car would have extra room, forcing delivery vans to stop in front of the cafe. When the florist set a small chalkboard near her doorway, Warren filed a complaint that street clutter was ruining access. He demanded the association mark every legal boundary before the fair. Mara printed the approved site plan at full scale. At the walkthrough, the chalkboard sat comfortably inside the florist's frontage. Warren's heavy stone planter, however, extended well into the shared loading area, exactly where his cones pushed deliveries. The association thanked him for requesting precision and asked him to clear his obstruction by Friday. He spent the afternoon moving the planter with a borrowed trolley. Once it was gone, the loading bay had enough room for vans and his car, without a single cone. The florist gave the freed patch of pavement a new name on her chalkboard, Common Sense, now in bloom. The third storm started at the florist's counter. A customer named Celeste had developed a habit of collecting custom bouquets and returning later to say premium stems were missing. The florist, Anika, usually added replacements to preserve goodwill. For the fair's opening reception, Celeste ordered 5 large arrangements, approved a detailed stem list, and requested sealed pickup cards so her assistant could collect them. Anika photographed each finished arrangement beside its card, then the assistant signed for all 5. That evening Celeste arrived furious, claiming the white roses had been replaced with cheap filler and demanding a complete refund. Anika opened the order record without raising her voice. The photographs showed every listed rose. The signed cards matched every arrangement. Then Celeste's assistant, standing behind her, mentioned that Celeste had moved the roses into vases at home before the complaint. Celeste stared at the refund form, which asked her to confirm the missing items in writing. She declined. The next morning, the supposedly inferior flowers decorated her own balcony, clearly visible above the fair. The fourth storm brewed inside the cafe. Rowan, the shift lead, always posted the rota after everyone else had gone home. Somehow he received the bright breakfast shifts while Nia and Tomas inherited every messy closing. When they objected, Rowan said the schedule rotated fairly and they simply remembered bad nights more vividly. For the fair weekend, he asked Mara to laminate the rota so nobody could pretend to be confused. Mara printed exactly what he sent. Nia noticed the file included the previous 8 weeks in tiny tabs along the bottom. She asked the cafe owner to enlarge them too. The pattern filled the window. Rowan had closed once, Nia and Tomas had closed 19 times between them. The owner introduced a visible rotation and used Rowan's own fair rota as week 1. He received Friday cleanup, Saturday cleanup, and the post-fair Sunday close because he had assigned all 3 to himself before noticing the new rule. Nia offered to swap one. Rowan, suddenly devoted to fairness, said the published schedule should stand. The 5th storm was loud enough for the whole street. Victor ran a new home goods kiosk and ordered the fair's largest banner. Mara sent a proofreading grand opening, Saturday, July 18th. Victor changed the font, the color, and the size 6 times, then forwarded an older proof whose date read Sunday. Mara flagged the mismatch. Victor replied in capital letters, "Stop questioning me. Print exactly this version." He signed the approval and paid for rush production. The finished banner stretched 4 meters across his kiosk. Grand opening, Sunday, July 19th. Fair opening was Saturday. Victor arrived, saw the date, and demanded a free replacement before noon. Mara showed him her warning, his reply, and his signed proof. She offered the fastest paid reprint her machines could manage. Victor refused, convinced somebody else would fix it for free. Nobody did. Customers kept asking whether they should come back tomorrow, and each time he had to explain that his grand opening was happening beneath the date he had insisted was final. By mid-morning, Victor returned to the print shop with his voice lowered. He paid for a corrected banner and asked Mara to check the date twice. She promised to check it once, then let him check it himself. The replacement went up at 3. Across the lane, Mina's colored routes kept deliveries moving. Warren's former Cone Kingdom held a bakery van for exactly 12 minutes, then cleared as the map required. Celeste walked beneath her rose-filled balcony and avoided the florist's eye. Rowan tied his apron for the first closing shift while Nia enjoyed the music outside. The 5 stories touched without colliding. Mina's route needed the loading bay Warren had cleared. Anika's flowers reached the reception on that route. Cafe staff followed the visible rota, and Victor's corrected banner arrived in the final delivery window. One person's accountability became another person's smooth afternoon. The committee chair visited Mara near sunset and asked whether she had enjoyed being proven right 5 times. Mara shook her head. Being right was useful, she said, but a fair still worked better when nobody needed proving wrong. She handed over the blue folder, now thick with the map approval, boundary plan, flower cards, rota, and banner proof. The chair expected scandal and found only ordinary signatures. That was the point. Nobody had been trapped. Cole chose to claim Mina's work. Warren demanded boundaries. Celeste requested documented pickups. Rowan asked for a laminated schedule. Victor insisted on an exact proof. Their consequences arrived through the standards they had selected for everyone else. After the stalls closed, Cole carried chairs according to Mina's checklist. Warren rolled the cafe's empty bins through the loading bay he could no longer reserve. Celeste sent Anika a short message saying the arrangements had, on reflection, been lovely. Rowan discovered that closing was easier when 3 people shared the tasks, and he apologized without making a speech. Victor saved the corrected banner and laughed when Mara wrote version 7 on the tube. None of them became a villain forever. That made the karma feel better, not weaker. Cedar Lane did not need ruin or humiliation. It needed the credit to find its creator, shared space to become shared again, a false complaint to meet a receipt, unfair work to become visible, and an arrogant instruction to appear 4 meters wide. Mara locked the blue folder in her cabinet. Above it she added a new label, What goes around, comes back signed.